It's freaking rapping, a podcast with a purpose. I'm Chris Cooper here with Alex and Flizzo. Last week we learned to be the change you want to see. Now here's something I wrote. Uh-oh, what's it writing now? Bite flows while I spit it out. Got the girls, got the chain, got the grill, but the game's still the same. No respect on my name, and I'm the only one to blame. If you're looking for truth, take a look in the mirror. I'm hoping now you see me, Chris Cooper, crystal clear. Okay, record and rapping. You must choose one.
I want to go with rapping.
Yeah, figures. Flizzo?
I'll give you a little wrecking.
Whoop, 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 whoop. So I had some wrecking plans in the future, but Flizzo has changed the game up. I did want to give a shout out to our viewers on Rumble. Y'all are the true kings and queens. It's actually been amazing to... Oh, hold on. We're getting a call. It's from the Ben on his home planet, Zeblorp. I'm getting a message from the Ben now. We haven't gotten his voice working yet. He's saying that self-appointed gatekeepers are bad. Their standards have no base. And a word in that I would like to focus on is standards. And because that takes me to Jedis are not intended as warriors, though they are capable of it. So I felt that they're made stronger by rules. A person is walking around with a lightsaber, capable of cutting anything in twine or melting it, capable of magic. And the restraint that they show is a feat that is commendable.
Are there any real world examples of that?
Yeah. When I was in a waiting room today and they were making me wait over an hour in my appointment, I'm thinking I could just destroy this entire building and nobody's going to stop me. But instead, I was like in the Phantom Menace when they were cut off from Darth Maul.
Darth Maul.
And the Jedi, Qui-Gon, just calmly meditated. So that's what I did instead of just going loose on people. But what we're doing here is staying sharp during peace to maintain peace, because evil is weak and won't come around if there's a shining example of strength. We keep training. Alex once said, "I'm more dangerous than him, but don't appear it." And I try to hide it because being dangerous is hurtful to yourself and those around you. Macho Man wasn't macho when he wrestled his wife. The challenge we're faced with is staying dangerous without hurting anyone. Keepers of the peace.
So would you say that instead of being considered dangerous, being considered capable? Because I think if you look at somebody and they're dangerous, you're like, they could like fly off the handle any second. Mm-hmm. But it's like if you look at somebody and like they're capable, like I don't mess with them. They're capable of
great violence. Does that make them dangerous then?
Well, yeah, it's like you're using the word capable as if like a normal person would use the word capable. Like that's not something someone's going to say.
Like if you use the word dangerous, you typically assign that to something that is going to like hurt you in a negative way, right? But if you're looking at it from the I guess protection standpoint, I wouldn't say somebody is dangerous if they're on my side. I would say they're capable of like great feats.
Did you not watch Darkwing Duck?
Both ways. What did Darkwing Duck do that was so dangerous?
Let's get dangerous. That's literally the thing he did.
And yet he wasn't that capable, was he?
No.
I mean, but he was dangerous, so
he couldn't shake a stick.
He was dangerous to himself.
Go-Go Gadget.
He more of like
Gizmo Duck, Chris.
No, I'm talking Inspector Gadget. He was the real G.
Yeah, but they would never cross universes like that. Come on.
Nowadays, they'll do anything for a check. Anyway, so as we become sharp, we become the gatekeepers. And Anakin is wrong for thinking he knows better than the council. Experience has wisdom, like knowing the importance of high ground. Have you ever tried taking the high ground? Running uphill and then having to fight someone for the hill?
Yeah, it sucks.
Yeah. I mean,
but then
near impossible.
The problem with the council is they became set in their ways.
But their ways were the rigidity that built them
beneficial.
up.
Yeah, but like if you get so used to something that you get blinded by what the other options, then you're forgetting that like there are certain things that can make a difference. And that's like part of the reason why people say change is good and you have to switch things up. Or like you force people to have to read books because they don't want to do it on their own. But that's something that they've gotten into their ways and you make them change. So I think the council is wrong.
Flizzo, have you finished your second book? Or your first book, I mean, The Alchemist?
Yeah, I did finish The Alchemist. And, you got to live your legend.
Ooh, live your legend. That sounds...
Actually, I started another book that wasn't the book that you gave me.
Oh no, the
Do
required
tell.
reading.
It's not required.
Oh.
It's this would benefit your life. I mean, that's what I had thought of. Like,
Well,
look,
so-
we just started, and you both have read a book that you've moved the needle on your life, and that will extend for at least 30 years. You know,
So
three
the way
score
I
in a
do
decade.
books, the way I do books is I do if I do a fiction, I do a nonfiction after that. Just so I get more grounded. So I did The Alchemist, which I hope is a fiction book.
Seems like it. I've got some Alchemist in our notes today.
But the interesting book I chose after that was one on my list was it was by Booker T. Washington. It was called Up from Slavery. And it actually had a lot of stuff in common with The Alchemist. So The Alchemist he needed to discover his legend or live his legend. And there was all these hurdles to him getting there. So he's like, he got robbed. Yeah, or not robbed. The guy tricked him and took his money, and then he had to work to get somewhere, to earn more money to get to the pyramids. And then there was a war between him and the pyramids, and he had to cross that to live his legend. And then what he was seeking at the pyramids wasn't even really at the pyramids; it was back where he lived. So it's like, all right, he had to do all this stuff just to live his legend and find his treasure.
He needed the experience as well.
Right. And then, so I'm reading
Booker T.
The Booker T. And, he starts off, he's in slavery. The Emancipation Proclamation happens. And then once he's free, he just sees that there's a school and he wants to learn. And he wants to be educated and he wants to better himself and his people. So, he
does he go in
earns
much
money.
on why he has this desire? Like he sees a school and like knows that this is a good thing for him.
Yeah, he kind of goes into that. Yeah, he sees it as he wants to do more than just where he came from. So he earns the money. He gets on I think a train to get to near where the school is, and he didn't know exactly where the school was. So he gets to his hotel, and they're like, you can't stay here, because of his race. So he starts walking toward the city, and he's never been in a big city before, and he finds a way to earn money there, but still no place to stay, so he sleeps under a sidewalk. And then, which I thought was crazy, sleep under the sidewalk.
I've slept on the sidewalk of North Philly in my, I don't know, about less than 10 years ago, or no, about 10 years ago.
Why?
So he does that, and he gets a job, and he's working, but he's working during the day, sleeping under a sidewalk at night, all because he wants to make it to the school and learn. And then he makes it to the school, and he doesn't have enough money to pay for the school. So then he goes out, or he goes in the school, he works for them, doing janitorial work to pay for his board, and he keeps working. And then, finally he gets his education, and then he keeps it rolling, becomes a teacher. Then he's tasked with starting another school, the Tuskegee School.
Mm-hmm.
So he works on that. And, once he gets there, there's no school there. They're like, oh yeah, we're going to start a school. And it's in like a barn. So he's got to work on that. And he just keeps building on it. And he keeps looking for his legend, I guess, so to speak.
I mean, that's what I feel like
Borrowing from the
we're
book.
doing here is that constantly pushing and working. Oh,
Yeah.
I want to ask Fliz, because we asked Alex if he had a favorite historical time period. Did you have a favorite historical?
No.
Okay, well then,
Not favorite.
well, I don't know, one that seems you always just seem to keep coming back to. I mean, it could be those pioneers in the early days of freedom, I guess, but
No, I think an era I'm focusing on now in the past couple of years has been the Reconstruction era after the Civil War.
Mhm.
Just to see where everything went wrong.
Went wrong. No, I mean, we will stray, but we're stumbling around in the darkness. Well, my favorite's the American Revolution. I have a soft spot for the French Revolution and Napoleon. Any historical leader I try and learn from. Thomas Jefferson is one of my favorites. Yes, Alex, you have a question?
Is the French Revolution the when that lady that let them eat bread Bastilles? Is that
Yeah, that's when it starts. And
okay?
Philadelphia has
Because you
a
definitely had a
penitentiary.
hardcore thing for Bastille Day at one point. It might have been when you
I
lived in
lived
the
down
city,
the street
but
from the
yeah.
Eastern
So
State Penitentiary, and on Bastille Day they would do a big performance. But yeah, that's sort of I don't know if that's the beginning of the French Revolution, but
It has something to do with it.
Story-wise, you could say that's the
I
beginning, and I
just
say
know
Napoleon is
that
the
was
end
a
of it.
large part of Chris's existence at one point in time,
Really?
and that's the only reason I know some information about any of that is because Chris got really into it.
Oh, so what else do you know about the French Revolution?
I mean, I guess outside of Les Mis.
Or inside? What happened?
Start
Well, no, I
chopping
mean,
off
but like,
heads.
Well, a
but
lot
yeah,
of
like
people
Bastille Day and cake and Les Mis are.
where I
I'm not
felt like
French,
the
so.
French Revolution goes wrong, and also this importance of the restraint in our capable selves is that they just started killing regular people, and this happens with communist countries as well, because there ends up, and everything goes back to religion, why your standards need to be set in the Bible, not like man created, created the Bible, blah blah blah. Because humans will keep raising the standards or lowering them in these cases of like, oh, you're a criminal, and they start turning on each other, and it just gets bloodier and bloodier until someone like Napoleon stands up and then just conquers everybody, because they're all disillusioned by French philosophers like Jean-Jacques Rousseau, who I like,
The
and
French had
Jefferson like.
a love for the guillottine, though. I think they were the last people to use it.
C'est
I might not be right
magnifique.
because I would have to look it up, but I think like 1967 or something like that was the last time someone was beheaded with a guillotine.
I thought it was the same year Star Wars came out.
All
77?
right, even later that like yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
Like it was like a point in time that you're like, you shouldn't be using a falling piece of metal to be
I
killing
mean,
people.
it's effective.
Yeah. What's your argument for why you shouldn't be using it? Also, we got to keep
Well, the
the words
guillotine is not a
PG.
good.
Why not? It's a
Okay,
one
for
second
unaliving
choop.
people.
What's that?
No, it's not. That's the problem with the guillotine. Is depending on how sharp it was or how many
Well,
times it was used that day, it might take 4 or 5 jobs.
okay,
And
fine, whatever with
that's not a.
that. But
I gotta
but
maintain it a
depending
little
on
bit better.
the judicial system, how long do you have to wait for that chop? I mean, is that even worse then? And what are the conditions in which the people are kept waiting for the knife? And another one that I'm big on is Count of Monte Cristo, where he's captured as a political prisoner because there's a time where Napoleon rules, and then the old aristocracy takes over for a short period, and then Napoleon pops up. And during these times, whenever the power shifts, they arrest the political enemies that they have, which is also why a bad precedent was set chasing down Trump as a prisoner, because so many presidents famously free anyone of crimes before them. But we don't want to get into arresting your political enemy, because that gets us all down this path. We need to show restraint. Even though you're the president and the strongest man in the world, you don't just, I don't know.
Yeah, if you go after your political rivals, especially with the judicial system, then you kind of cloud everybody's judgment, and like it looks like it's just a political witch hunt. and
And
it sets a terrible precedent.
it can become one 100 years down the road too, which like might not be, nobody might still be alive for that remembers the beginning. But these things, like I said, moves the needle. I got to get
and then
into
someone
some
looks back and sees
Shakespeare.
that this happened, and all right, go for it.
Well, so I kept mentioning this monologue, "All the World's a Stage." And it's from As You Like It. It's Act 2, Scene 7. Now I'm going to read the monologue. So I said it's going to say a man's life is 7 acts. So I said 70 in a decade. So that's 70 years. You can think of 10 years. This is Jacques. All the world's a stage, and all the men and women merely players. They have their exits and their entrances, and one man in his time plays many parts. His acts being 7 ages. At first, the infant, mewing and puking in his nurse's arms. Then the whining schoolboy, with satchel and shining morning face, creeping like snail unwillingly to school. And then the lover, sighing like furnace, with a woeful ballad made to his mistress's eyebrow. Then a soldier, full of strange oaths and bearded like the pard. Jealous in honor, sudden and quick in quarrel, seeking the bubble reputation, even in the cannon's mouth. And then the justice, in fair round belly, with good capon lined, with eyes severe and beard a formal cut, full of wise saws and modern instances. And so he plays his part. The 6th age shifts into the lean and slippered pantaloons, with spectacles on nose and pouch on side, his youthful hose well saved a world too wide for his shrank shank, and his big manly voice turning again towards childish treble, pipes and whistles in his sounds. Last scene of all, that ends this strange eventful history, is second childishness and mere oblivion. Sans teeth, sans eyes, sans taste, sans everything. And if you guys didn't know, sans is the French word for without.
Interesting note on that is I have used that phrase but didn't know where it came from.
All
But
the
I
world's a
apparently
stage,
also
or
use it differently. Oh yeah, all the world like that's I basically live that all the world is a stage.
yeah,
And oddly enough, I kind of just cosplay my way through life and existence.
yeah.
And
That's what.
I legit used that sentence 2 weeks ago because we were getting ready for Easter brunch, and I basically cosplayed as Goofy for brunch. Like I have a pair of blue pants, I got an orange long sleeve shirt and a black vest, and like
Was that the hat?
perfect human. Well, I have the hat, but
Okay, so
the
you wore a
Goofy hat,
big
like
bucket hat.
for him. No, see, I didn't wear that to
Oh,
to
okay.
Easter because I have the one you get from Disney because they don't make a like green whatever hat that would be. I cannot find out what type of hat Goofy's supposed to be wearing if he was a human. But like, and then I even use that to tell people about like how to get through their day because it's like you in the work world, that's not you. That's work you. So just pretend to be that person that you
Mask
are
on.
to get through that thing. Yeah, like everything.
Oh,
I
That's a whole
use
different conversation.
the term like putting a hat on, like putting my work
Yeah,
hat
yeah,
on.
that's a
Well, yeah,
common
I
one.
like that because what was the? Oh shoot, I guess it. What Chris said. It's not Kid Alex. What was there was a Genesis game
I
where
remember
you would
that
kill a
game.
bad guy, you would get a mask, and you would get a power. And like that was the whole point. Like you had to make sure to kill the bad guys in a certain
But this
stage
is
in a
where I
certain
think the
order, so you can do the things
archetypes
you had to do.
are like a simple way for people to start like understanding that. I want to read the Wikipedia archetypes, and I'll read the 11, and we can later get into the 12, I guess. So this is what Wikipedia listed: the sage, innocent, explorer, ruler, creator, caregiver, magician, hero, outlaw, lover, gesture. The 12th one is ordinary person, and that's
Or
like, why are
everyman.
you putting that? The whole point is that these archetypes are not ordinary person. Like that's the
Fair.
center dot, and we're drawing lines away from it to the extreme so that we can sort of see something.
Well, maybe
But
somebody's just so plain and vanilla that they're just an ordinary person. That's it.
Well, they
so
probably
with all
never
that, I was
researched Carl
diving
Jung
into
then.
that to see that where like how it really fit with who I say I am, sort of thing.
Mhm.
And one of the things I read about the like I think it was more or less being the jester, was living in the moment. So that goes along with the fact that I said I don't have a favorite history time because I just like to exist.
Mm-hmm.
But about the everyman is just apparently wanting to belong more than like being a thing. You're not trying to change anything. You're not trying to be noticed or stand out or yada yada yada. You're trying to just be a part of something. So yes, there are some people out there that don't have much more than just trying to be involved,
Yeah, but
and that's what an everyman would be.
once they and would get once they have the base of like their Maslow's hierarchy of needs, then they'd probably blossom and find one of those more extreme characteristics to latch onto. I also with that want to say that like you're not just one thing your entire
Oh no.
life. You just
No.
go through them, and the Buddhist version is like the wheel of samsara. There's like 4 good things on
Well,
top of the wheel, 4 bad, and there's that
so
karma
yeah,
thing.
you like my notes are on my phone, so that's why I'm not looking forward. But I know I took notes. Um,
Flizzo, did
but
you
yeah,
take
I
any
found
notes?
one of
Did you
those.
watch the prequel video?
I
Ah,
mean, I did,
hey.
and I
I
did, but I don't have
but
the
I
notes
found
though.
one of those reels that like Chris
Same
was
problem
saying.
Alex encountered. But what was that?
Yeah, I know you. But that they are broken down into categories of four. So I guess that's why they add a 12th so it's even, because
Yeah,
otherwise
yeah,
you'd
yeah.
have an odd number. And then like each the four categories then have the subcategories and then have the like and then the archetype is the header for it. So like the everyman, the jester, and the lover all exist in the category of connecting to others because they want to belong, they want to please, and they want to have intimacy.
Mm-hmm.
And then like there's a leave a mark, uh, a spiritual journey, and provide structure, and then it like breaks off and everything. So it's like I think in theory you would be one of each four of those things, but to what level, percentage, yada yada yada, that would be different.
Yeah, but and ultimately these are things just to get you started to be able to compartmentalize complicated aspects of life because life is infinitely deep. So you can create these boxes so then you can start working forward with something. And that's why I don't like the kind of debates I now call them sort of debates in bad faith. Like I said, like the Bible wasn't written by people or was written by people, or like why do you choose this specific Bible version? Which I guess I should get into the Bible reading with that because it touches on that. But I say those aren't good faith arguments because they just weigh you down and you lose the trees to the forest. So the Bible this week was given to us by Grizzy, and it's going to be in Genesis. And the point he was spreading was that there is gospel in the beginning of the Bible. I'm going to read Genesis 22, verses 6 through 8. And this is going to be Abraham and Isaac's story. And Abraham took the wood of the burnt offering and laid it upon Isaac his son. And he took the fire in his hand and a knife, and they went both of them together. And Isaac spake unto Abraham his father, and said, My father. And he said, Here am I, my son. And he said, Behold the fire and the wood, but where is the lamb for a burnt offering? And Abraham said, My son, God will provide himself a lamb for a burnt offering. So they went both of them together. And the point of focus on this is God will provide himself a lamb. And so he's saying that that's the gospel because Jesus is the Lamb of God. And it shows that people were given the gospel way back then, but in such a way that they wouldn't understand it for thousands of years. And I want to open people up to that there are mysteries around us right now that no one alive on earth today will understand. And also, this Abraham story is a metaphor that you have to give your children up to the world or they suffer a worse fate. Because we had also touched on keeping your children from growing
Oh,
up, really, or living
I
life.
I actually saw something interesting about that recently with how apparently nowadays percentage wise kids don't want to learn how to drive. And people like aren't understanding why the younger generation isn't trying to do as much as their parents did. And the thing I was watching was saying that it's actually the parents' fault because they were forced to do these things when they were younger by their parents. So now that they have children, they're changing the way they're raising them and not like kicking the baby bird out of the nest. And so it's like you're not giving up your child to have to take a risk, because you're like, well, if they don't have to take a risk, why make them? And so they're comfortable and they're happy and they have what they need, so they're not.
And this is
And
why
then,
we
like,
have to stay
that's going to
sharp.
change the next
It's too
generation.
comfortable.
Yeah, they're not promoting independence with the child, so they're not letting them make their own decisions. They're not letting them do anything for themselves. Like, you know, you pick out what they eat, you pick out what they wear, you pick out where they go to school, who their friends are. You make all these decisions for them. And then at a certain point, then they don't want to make any decisions. So they're not going to want to get a driver's license because, you know, I mean, you're driving them everywhere. You make all their decisions, so why would they need to do that? So it's kind of like,
and that could,
you know,
there's also a danger and then of the caregiver sort of becoming resentful when the innocent child doesn't want to take care of themselves. Is like, well, I could be doing something else if not for you. That also happens, as Shakespeare said, with second childishness. Now, so the other thing I said Jung was famous for the archetypes. Another thing he's famous for is the collective unconsciousness. Did that come up in your notes anywhere, your research anywhere else?
So I was trying to find like a book that he wrote about the archetypes, because that's where my interest was.
I think it's id
and
and
like
ego,
could
maybe.
not. Well, yeah, but like I couldn't find anything that only existed on that. And then you can find a lot of stuff that's like, oh, him and Darwin were friends and things like that. And it's like for someone that apparently has a collective writing, they don't exist. Like,
well, so he's a psychologist, so he like writes. That's why he's like, I have the portable Jung. It's like snippets of his writing, because he just writes and writes and writes. And there's also the Red Book, which is famous, but it's just like, I don't know. That's like his personal, just like doodling over 30 years.
And that's like, I didn't want to read something like that. That's just like,
No.
oh, here's side notes.
No,
Like,
that's
none of
why
it
you
seems
listen to
exist in
Wrecking
a
and
book
Rapping.
form.
I'll give you the good stuff.
Dude, one of the best
The
books
Cliff
that
Notes?
I read,
Yeah.
The Tao of Who.
Mm-hmm.
the Tao.
I remember
like,
people being wild about that in high
connecting
school.
Taoism
Winnie the Pooh.
to Winnie the Pooh, and how each one of the characters has like characteristics that basically breaks them. I mean, I guess it is the same as the archetypes, but I guess that's what, like feudal Japan compared to 1600s. I don't know when Yang existed. I mean, he was friends with Darwin, so it wasn't that long
I
ago.
don't know. I don't know
definitely
about
wasn't the
Darwin,
1600s
but
if he
definitely Sigmund Freud. So I don't know if
Maybe that's
you're
what it is.
mixing
Maybe
those
Sigmund
two.
Freud. I'm confusing the two of them.
So that would be 1800s then.
Yeah, not too
but like
long ago. They wore
Taoism that
suits and
existed
stuff,
in
but
like feudal Japan.
I think it might have been, Taoism might be from China. So you got your consciousness. We are consciously talking to each other right now. You got your unconsciousness. You're breathing. Your stomach is digesting stuff. And there's the collective unconsciousness that we all share, all living beings. And that's what we're going to. So I've got The Alchemist. I'm reading from, I don't know if Flizzo, you have the same version as mine or not. But I'm reading on page 74.
Didn't you give him the book?
Yeah, but I don't know if it's the same exact
You don't
book.
know if you gave him the same book that you got yourself?
Did you not read the book?
I read the book years ago.
Okay.
And then I read it a second time, just shorter. But if you want, I have the ISBN number. If you wanted to compare, it's 13:978. I'm not reading that. Here's page 74.
Who
Yeah, I don't
rereads
have it in
books
front
if
of
they
me.
didn't remember it the first time around?
You know, that's in my notes. If you say you read a book like as of Mice and Men, and you don't repeat to me every single word in the book, how do I even know you read it?
Whoa. On that argument that you just made is you telling me that I shouldn't compare myself to what other people think. So what does it matter to me if you don't know I read it?
I don't know. Too late,
Oh,
too deep.
I wrecked the whole system.
Oh, you've wrecked my rapping. Hunches, his mother used to call them. The boy was beginning to understand that intuition is really a sudden immersion of the soul into the universal current of life, where the histories of all people are connected, and we are able to know everything because it's all written. And that's why I'm focusing on the written. And here I've prepared John 1:1, because I mentioned that before, that in the beginning was the Word. Remember, word in Latin is logos, and Jesus is the logos. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. So that's John 1:1. But the writing, that's how, I mean, that you can connect to Booker T. Washington, or I can connect to Thomas Jefferson, even Napoleon and Jung. We have their writings, so we can get in their head. And there's this magical thing that we can do reading the written word in this collective unconsciousness we share.
No, I feel like if you're reading someone's writing, you're only getting a snippet of who they were or what they thought. So you're not
I
really
agree.
getting in their head.
Well, it depends on how much writing you're listening to from them, right?
Well, I mean, I
So
guess,
yeah,
yeah,
it
if you went
varies.
back and read the Red Book and read every bit of notes that he took while, like, you might get more, but
But even still,
but
there's
that's
an
problem, I
editing
guess,
system
yeah,
going on.
like if you're reading what are they, not documentaries, what are the
Autobiography.
autobiographies? Like, there, there's only nitbits and things that people purposely are leaving out or wanting you to know.
yeah, they're
Like,
going to paint the
who's
best
really going to tell
picture of
you?
themselves.
Yeah, who's going to really tell you the
Might
thing
make
that they don't
themselves
want
out
you
to
to
be a
know?
king.
Like, they're just going to, I don't know. It takes a big man to decide that they want to be a jester over a king.
I mean, even a
You're a
biography,
big man.
you figure that person's like obsessed with that other person, so they're going to write everything in the best light.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, why we need the different archetypes, that there are different people. I guess there's ordinary people too. If there's kings,
Just
there's got to be ordinary people.
ordinary plain Janes.
Well, that's what I had said, that
Every man sounds so much better.
plain
Every man.
Janes.
Yeah, like
Well, you
calling normal people just plain
I
James
think
or just normal people.
an every man has more to it than a plain Jane, in my opinion.
I mean, plain Jane's got some rapping.
Well, yeah, that's why I'm saying using the term makes it a better term because it sounds like there's more to it than
No, but
like a plain Jane
what
just
I'm
sounds
saying
like
is I
you.
think there's more to an everyman than there is to a plain Jane.
Then what's a plain Jane? That's like
Just a
it's almost
blank
like a Debbie
canvas. There's
Downer. You're
nothing.
just like only like you're
Hey,
taking away everything else
anyway,
but one
talking about
negative.
somebody that's on the show, the bejeweled king you see is the shadow side of the farmer that I am, or the everyman, which I think farmer would be better than everyman then. But that, because I know you guys from my childhood, then I think that you understand that this is all a joke, and so you don't take it seriously, which is, I mean, that's what you get to do with the jester,
So
is
so almost like the world's a stage and you're performing rather than existing.
natty. Anyway, so here's some Poor Richard's Almanac, and he says, "He that can compose himself is wiser than he that composes books." What do you think of that? Did you pick any meaning of it? Like maybe restraint if you're wielding a lightsaber and can shoot lightning from your fingers?
Honestly, I
Well,
got
that's
the other thing of saying that
mainly a
books don't
dark
matter.
side quality.
No, books don't matter. Read.
That's what I just said. It says
Anyway, here's
existing is more important than writing
some
things
math. Did you
down.
guys work on that this
Dude,
week?
your transitions are so ADHD, it's
Uh,
crazy.
Yeah, but
Six
you can keep up
times
with it.
8 times
I
1
know.
6 times 8
divided
times
by
1.
2.
I'm not gonna
6
lie.
times 8 is going to be pretty
I had
high.
you sent that in the notes, and then I was like, oh, I had to use a calculator, and it made perfect sense. Like in my head, I could not figure it out, but just typing the numbers into a calculator, like the thing I could say, I typed it down. Went, oh, that makes more sense.
So the numbers for our
But yeah,
listeners
6 times 8,
are 6, 8, 2,
6,
1.
8, 2, and 1.
So
But
6
6
times
times
8
8 divided by
equals
2
what?
times 1.
6 times 8 equals 48.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Times
that's
1.
why you have to walk us through each step. So
I
divide
had
by
to type
2
it down.
times 1. Okay.
Yeah.
I like to multiply by 1 before I divide by 2.
That's
I guess
that's fine too.
Like,
But I had come up with a way, because I try not to look at them, but it's hard because I also like send a photo
you
to you
send us a
guys.
picture beforehand, yeah.
But
Like
so I try, and if I catch a glimpse, I say in my head 1 2 3 4 5 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 1 2 3. I try and block it out. Speaking of
side note has not much
ADHD,
to do with that, but has to do exactly with counting.
go with it.
If you do basic math in your head or just math, it helps you disassociate from your surroundings, and it is a great solution for people that have a shy bladder.
What
Okay.
about if you're getting tortured? Does that help too?
I've never been tortured. I don't like
okay.
peeing in public, but I like at a urinal. I'll do basic math in my head, and it can help me unfocus so I can
So,
without a problem.
I'm just pretty
what
good at
kind of math are you
disconnecting from
doing at
this
the
physical
urinal?
coil.
just basic addition. Like I'll do like 4 plus 4, and then you get 8, and then 8 plus 8, and then you get 16, 16 plus 16, and just keep basic math addition, and it keeps you unfocused enough that you don't. I mean, like, if you're not a shy bladder person, it doesn't make sense to explain it,
Yeah,
I
but
don't
it
I don't understand. I don't
100%.
have a shy bladder
Yeah,
at all.
I with the
I
military
could
is I
probably
had
pee in
to
like a crowd
constantly
of people.
people were
I wouldn't
asking me to
care.
pee here, pee there,
I don't
pee
think
on
they
the
were asking you,
square.
Chris. I think they were telling you.
No, well, some of them were telling me to, and some I just liked peeing on people. But that's just the grab bag you get when you join the military. My last note is Flizzo said, "Once a sinner, always a sinner." And my question was, Alex, is that how you view your life? I am this thing and always will be. Or maybe perhaps it's how you viewed it and now you're changing because, like you talked about with the reading
Oh,
books.
snap.
What?
So here's the
Did
thing.
I
What?
I
say
would
that?
not agree with once a sinner, always a sinner, because I
Okay.
view that as a negative tone. But then what you said, once I am this thing and that's who I am, I would say that. So like somehow it's the same but not the same.
Well, this is
Like
making
I
the
am
weaker
who I
argument
am.
the stronger, is that you can connect
Yeah.
things that you would have said are not the same, and then I put them in the same sentence. And you're like, I don't like, and this is why they killed Socrates, because they didn't like how it
And
made
there's a
their
reason,
heads feel.
like as I say that I'm a hippopotamus, it's because I am a hypocrite. And when things make sense to me and work the way they work for me, it's only for me and not for anybody else. So I'm a
Amen.
hippopotamus.
Well, that's all I got for today's show. Anything you guys wanted to make sure to cover?
I mean, I think I covered all my notes, but I had to make sure that this went a little longer than last week's because I felt like when I'm not here, you guys are very quick and just note, 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 and see you later.
That's how I
I
always
got
am,
to disrupt
because
the norm. Yeah, I got to
you
disrupt the
guys are
norm. I
just
can't have
hanging
that.
out, but there are people that are actually listening. And if we just drag on or wander off or talk about something they
Yeah,
don't
I
know
listen
about,
to this.
they'll say, "I don't,
I
no,
enjoy
thank you."
this.
And I want to
I
say
think they
thank you
would. I
for
think they enjoy
listening.
the dynamic.
There is a dynamic. Make sure to
Uh,
follow CU3 Scott on all social media, including Gmail, not Gmail,
Google
Gmaps.
Maps. All right.
Google
And it
And
might
Maps.
my
just be Alex Cooper on that. But either way, follow
Yeah, I
me.
tried to find you and couldn't. So you might need to switch to a public profile
I
or
can,
come
well,
up with a
I
link
can
that we
send
can
you a link if
share.
you want to attach it to this. Yeah.
Ooh, exciting. My website, drawingmylifeaway.com. And thank you for listening. Have a good day. Bye.
Have a good one.
Peace.